I am super, super excited about this episode. Some episodes I do for you, but this episode is really for me. I'm going to be talking about a lot of things that I have been through, am still going through, am overcoming, and have also experienced. So the quote today is from Margie Warrell, who is an author. She wrote, "You've got this, the life changing power of trusting yourself." Here's the quote for today: "You don't have to attain perfection or mastery to be worthy of the success you've achieved." Ooh, it's gonna get deep in here. So, I wrote a theme song. You want to hear it? Then we'll talk about the quote.
And with the quote, we create kind humans who speak kindness, show kindness. Be a kind human. Be a kind human.
Okay, so this episode's quote is from Margie Warrell, and it says, "You don't have to attain perfection or mastery to be worthy of the success you've achieved." I hear so much about perfection, about imposter syndrome, and I'm going to be reading a couple of definitions because I really wanted us all to be on the same page as we're kind of working through the quote this week. Um, Perfection, defined by our good friend Google, um, is to make something completely free from faults or defects, or as close to such condition as possible. Now, just think about that. What do you know that is completely free from faults or defects? I don't know that, well, I don't know. And I'm not going to say I don't know. What I'm going to say is the definition raises the bar extremely high because so many things that we experience, that we buy, that we eat, that we see are either created or made by people. And as beautiful and as kind as of human beings as we are not completely free from faults or defects. And so, just going off of the definition of being perfect, if I am not moving forward because I want things to be perfect, listen to that definition: completely free from faults or defects. That is a pretty high bar. And so, if we're looking at this from the viewpoint of, you know, the success that I am experiencing, do I expect this journey to be perfect? Am I expecting that the way I'm going to show up and the experiences that I'm going to have, that when I meet people, that I am going to be completely free of flaws? So that means that my life has to be perfect. When I wake up, the food that I eat has to be perfect. Traveling to wherever I'm speaking or wherever I'm going to go to work, everything has to be perfect, completely free from flaws, because all of those things have an effect on how we think, how we feel, and how we act. And having the bar raised that high, that before we are worthy of success, we have to be perfect, completely free from flaws. That is a pretty high bar. And okay, so let me give you a personal example. I A few months ago, I did a 30-day self kindness challenge. And through the challenge, I wrote a wrote a book. And here's the so I'm going to show you the book. If you are on the podcast, you have to order the book in order to see it. But there is on this page here, you see how the word edit is not really in, it's not completely in the block. And when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't catch that. But here's the thing, the real value is that I wrote, self published, and I have a physical copy of the book in my hand. And there were times where, even when I was writing the book, I knew I didn't want to get caught up in trying to catch every word and making sure everything was perfect, because in the past I have allowed that to keep me stuck. And I really wanted to be free from that, because here is the reality. The reality is that I have not a lot of books, but I think I've noticed it in two professionally published books from authors that are well known, and I found a mistake in their book. So just they have like a whole team of editors and people who that's their passion, is editing books and words, and I still found a mistake. So it's not that the lesson for me is not that the book is perfect, but that I put the book out in the best way that I could at the time, not free from errors, but now that I have the copy, I can go through and I'll find the copy, and then I can just upload the new and improved copy, and no one would be the wiser. But what I did not want to do is to stay stuck in trying to get everything perfect and right, because really, people are just fascinated that I have written another book. That's really what it is. Because really writing a book is about finishing the book, because a lot of people start writing books. But I think I was talking to my manager, and I think she said that like only 20% of the people who start a book finish it. 80% of the people start a book and never finish. And so, listen, the fact that I have finished, that I have wrote and self-published, I think maybe 4 books, is a feat all in itself. And so I don't have to be so wrapped around this whole thing of being perfect and flawless. I mean, I am flawless, you know, in that term. But being totally free from faults, that is a pretty high thing to accomplish. And so here's the thing that also goes right up with perfection, is the imposter syndrome. So let me define the imposter syndrome by our good friend Google. This is very interesting. Imposter syndrome is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. Do you hear that? I did a video, and because I love TikTok, I love them all. And one of the things that I said was, do you know how you know that you have done the work to be where you are? Because you are where you are. That's how you know. It's to me, it's amazing that this whole thing of perfectionism and imposter syndrome, they really kind of work hand in hand. Because I'm trying to be perfect, and because perfectionism really will probably never be reached, I feel inadequate. So I feel like I'm an imposter. I feel like have the I don't deserve the success that I'm experiencing, that I don't legitimately deserve to be where I am. And the reality of the situation is, I'm already there. I'm already where I am. I'm already there. That's the thing. And so just being conscious of this whole thing of perfectionism and imposter syndrome, because even myself, okay, so let me tell you this. I have, from as early an age as I can remember, I have always wanted to speak, be a life coach, impact people's lives in some fashion. And I was always amazed at people who did it who were younger than me. I really was. You know, when I would see teenagers and, young adults, people in their 20s and 30s, like speaking with such determination. And I mean, I was amazed. I would be like, well, gosh, she's just 25. Look at what she has accomplished, which also feeds into, when I look at where other people are, when I compare myself to other people, that feeds into the imposter syndrome, because I think they have um, more education, more experience, more tenacity, more personality than me, which makes me want to go in and do more work, take more classes, read more books, because I think if I do all those things, then I'll be perfect. And it's like this cycle of perfectionism and imposter syndrome. And the other thing that um, I read in a little bit of the research that I did was that if you are dealing with perfectionism and also imposter syndrome, that you may also be dealing with procrastination, because the standards that you have are so high, and you don't feel that you can meet the standards. And so you don't want to do the things that would help move you forward. So you procrastinate. And so it is literally this cycle of, you try to be perfect, but then you feel like an imposter, and then you don't want to do it. And then you think that if you could just do it perfect, you'll get it. But then you don't feel like you have all the steps. You feel like an imposter. I mean, it's this vicious circle of, you have really high standards, you feel like you don't meet the standards, and then you feel like you're an imposter even when you do try to do the thing that you're trying to do. And so um I told you it was going to be a lot. it is it is a lot, because so many times in the past I can remember, um I have so many journals and books and different things. I was gonna write greeting cards. I was gonna do a black trivia game. I was gonna do. I mean, I'm telling you, I sold Mary Kay. I sold candles. I did so many things, but a lot of those things I never finished because I was trying to be perfect. And I can specifically remember the first book I wrote, which was Tenaciously Green. It was the first thing that I remember doing from start to finish without allowing this perfectionism to get in the way. And I was so proud of myself. And it's not perfect. I'm sure there are mistakes, but that doesn't matter because really the practice was for me to allow myself the experience of doing something that made me proud. Because so many times I have thought that it was about out there accomplishing and doing and what somebody else was going to say and what somebody else was going to think. But really, it was about me and making me proud and doing the things that I wanted to do without this whole pressure of being perfect. I know I've said this before, but this story it has such an impact. When the studio was open, Most in a Masterpiece, um, I had written this book called Tenaciously Green, which was really about saving the earth, the environment, recycling, reusing. I mean, it was about basically trying to save Mother Nature. And so in the studio, I used a lot of glass, acrylic, instead of paper and paper towels. I tried to really decrease the use of that. And so I had um, these cloth napkins. And, toward the end, I was really busy. And so I would have hundreds and hundreds of cloth napkins that I would take home and wash and iron each individual one and then fold it. When I tell you, it took me hours. It took me hours every week to iron each of these napkins and fold them. And one of the young ladies who I met, Katie, we were talking and she was like, Tawana, when people talk about Mimosa and Masterpiece, they do not mention that you have perfectly ironed cloth napkins. And I was like, it was, I mean, it was such an epiphany for me because I was so intent on doing the thing that nobody paid attention to. But because I was trying to be perfect, I spent hours doing something that didn't really matter. What mattered is that people would come in and have a great time and leave with a masterpiece. That was important. And so, what I want to tell you is whatever is keeping you stuck, people want you. They don't want this perfect, animated, really disconnected person that you may be trying to be. They really want you. They want you in how you show up for your business and your kids want you. They don't necessarily have to go on a all expense paid vacation to, I don't know, Disney or the south of France, I don't know, wherever. They want you. And really understanding that I can live my life, be in my body, be in my relationships, and how I show up for work. I can just be me. I don't have to be this perfect person in business or in my personal life. I can just be me and I am enough. And so, even this quote by Margie, you don't have to attain perfection or mastery to be worthy of the success you've achieved. This worthiness thing is also plays a big part in it. You know, the first I went to Zarvis um, Leadership and Personal Development, this course that really jump started my new life. And what I realized was this whole perfection thing probably means that you were a people pleaser. Or maybe, I don't want to say that you probably were. For myself, I was. I was a people pleaser. And I was a people pleaser because I didn't feel worthy, that I could just show up as myself and be enough and be loved and be liked and be appreciated. I didn't feel that I was worthy. And that fed into the perfectionism that even when I realized success or love, there was a little part underlying that. If I did, am I worthy of it? You know, if I say what I'm going to, if I say what I feel, are they going to be mad at me? Or they don't like me? They're going to leave? Or, it was this whole thing that I had in my head when really people, they did love me just because I was me. And so this perfection and worthiness and imposter, all of those things, it's like this circle that may be keeping you stuck. And so I just felt like this quote was so impactful and that it really did deserve a deeper dive of this imposter syndrome and perfection, because I think it may be keeping a lot of people stuck, because it kept me stuck, and it keeps me stuck still. And so you know, I can't leave you without a I can't leave you without some takeaways. And I'm going to give you some things from the coaching corner for you to try, think about, talk about, um, that can help move us through this stagnation of perfectionism and imposter syndrome, so that we can lean more into love and success and um, fun. And so, one of the things that I think um, causes us to be stuck in perfectionism and imposter syndrome is that we're looking at our flaws, concentrating on our fears instead of focusing on the things that we're good at, our strengths. What do we do well? What do we do that really nobody else can do, or we do it better than most people? And so, one of the things that you can do is to really think about what are your strengths and concentrating on those. And so, one of the things that um, I feel like I do well is um, I try to listen to people, and also I have kind of the gift of gab, hence the podcast. And I think I'm funny. And so those are things that I can do in my sleep. I can listen, I ask questions, to make people feel heard, and so that, you know, so people feel comfortable talking to me. And that is what I'm choosing to focus on. I'm not focusing on how many times I say so in my podcast. So, um, I know that I say so a lot, or whatever the case, whatever it might be. And I am choosing to move through that and not, um, because what I would have done in the past is replayed it and counted how many times I said so, or and then I probably would have re-recorded it. Do you hear how that sounds? I mean, it's like, let it go. And so that's one of the reasons why I sit down, I make some notes, I hit the record key and I go, because I have spent enough of my time redoing and reworking and deleting and backspacing. I have I have done that enough, and I just want to be free to be me. And I feel like the best way for me to do that is to do that, so that hopefully you will be encouraged to do that. Um, okay, so one of the other things that the other piece of homework that I'm going to give you, because the other thing that feeds this whole perfection and imposter syndrome, it could be that you're not asking for help. That would also be me. And I can remember when I started Mimosa and a Masterpiece, Deborah, my manager, she was a godsend, because she would be like, I can do it. And I would be like, yeah, but she would be like, go ahead and leave. I got it. And, you know, it was really a safe space for me to accept her help and to ask for it, because, you know, in the past I felt like I had to do everything on my own. I had to make everybody else feel comfortable and, you know, turn somersaults. I was doing so many acrobatic things in my life. And just to be able to accept help from her and to ask for help was it was life changing. I mean, it really was. And, you know, even now I have to practice asking for help. And I know that. And it is a practice for me because, you know, there's a part of me that's like, I'll just do it. And so what I'm realizing is that I also like to help people. And, you know, one of the things that I learned from the personal development class that I took was that when I always want to help people, but I don't allow people to help me, I become a taker. Think about that. I was like, oh, I don't want to be a taker. And so, you know, that same joy that I get from helping people when I don't allow them to help me, you know, it's like I'm not, I don't want to say I'm not being fair, but I'm not allowing people to experience the same thing that I experience when they allow me to give. So that would be number two. Number one is focus on your strengths. Number two, ask for help and accept help when it's offered. And then the last would be stop comparing. Iyanla says that when you compare, you are you are doing an act of violence to yourself. I think that's what she said. I'm gonna have to get her exact quote. I'll try to find it and put it in the notes because I do not want to misquote the queen. But she says that comparison is an act of violence. Listen to that. When I compare myself to somebody else, I am committing an act of violence. I mean, I don't want to do that. I do not want to be violent. And so, really, it's about me appreciating myself and my own gifts and my own light and the beautiful things that I um, have to offer the world and not looking at anybody else because I am beautifully and flawlessly and wonderfully made. And just knowing and appreciating that is the practice. Listen, this has been a lot on this episode. So please tell me what you think in the comments. Follow, share, subscribe. And this episode has certainly been an eye-opening experience for me. So I will tell you this. It is late, and I don't normally do podcasts this late. So but I was like, I'm so excited. I want to get it finished. So thank you for listening. I am in my third season. I'm so excited about that. Thank you for hanging in. If you're new, welcome. And I wrote a theme song. You want to hear it? Here it goes.
And with the quote, we create kind humans who speak kindness, show kindness, be a kind human. Be a kind human.